Okay, so it is being recorded. But so just if you ask questions, that your voice may be recorded, but ooh, that probably didn't sound good in the video. Yeah, your faces aren't being recorded at all. It's just recording the screen right now. Okay? So, chapter 5, do you remember the title of it? Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's fix this. The title, in case you've forgotten, it's about polynomials. And we basically did adding polynomials, subtracting polynomials, multiplying polynomials, and dividing them. So that's pretty much what we did, and we did that in a few days. So I found many of you kind of knew this already, and we were able to work our way through it. But let's go through some examples to sort of refresh your memory on what this was about. So, first example. Let's say we want to simplify. And here's what I'd like for you to do. I would like for you to actually try this on your own first, and then I'll run through the answer with you. So let's say we have negative 2x squared y plus 2xy minus 5x squared y minus 7xy. If it says simplify, what are you expected to do with this? So I'm going to give you a minute. Please do try this on your own, and then we will run through it together. I'm not going to give you quite as much time as I normally would because we're reviewing for the second time, really. So we talked about like terms. If I look at, and I showed you some strategies like underlining the like terms. Which term is a like term with negative 2x squared y? Mm-hmm. Yes. Because the two underlined terms have the same variables with the same degree or same exponent, they're considered like terms. And then this and this are also like terms. So if I combine the two pink terms, what do I end up getting? How many x squared y's do I have? Yeah. Negative 7x squared y's. Is everybody okay with that? So it's like apples and oranges. Like if the pink one is apples and the blue one is oranges, we're counting up how many apples we have and how many oranges we have. So the x squared y part, you just leave it written exactly as it is. Does that make sense so far? So then we already dealt with those. Now let's go to the blue part. 2xy minus 7xy, what do we have? Excellent, negative 5xy. So we got rid of that and that. So after all that, this is going to be our simplified solution. Nice way to warm up and get back into this. Is this coming back to us? So the only other thing I could do with this is give you, instead of x squared y and xy, I might give you different variables, but the procedure and how we go through this is exactly the same. So let's say instead I ask you to add. And this time we're getting fancy. We're going to put some brackets in. So we have 3x squared plus 2y minus 7 plus 5x squared minus 7y minus 3. Please take a minute to go through and see if you can do that without us even reviewing it. Well, do the brackets matter in this case? No, so I don't need them there. So I know that you can't do this, but I'm going to just simply get rid of them. Good? You can do it. I guess you could erase them. But basically, they don't necessarily need to be there. So then the next thing is we look for our like terms. I'm just flying through this because we basically just did it. But how many x squares do I have? You can just call it out if you like, anybody or everybody. How many x squares do we have? 8. Good? So then let's go to our y's. There's a 2y and a minus 7y. And again, you can just call it out if you like, but how many y's do we have? Negative 5y. Good. And then we get to our constant. Remember that word? Negative 7 is a constant because it doesn't have a variable with it. And same with negative 3. But if I have negative 7 plus negative 3, how many constants do I have? Negative 10. Is everybody okay with that? So after all that, this would be our added solution. So we just had 2 weeks off, but is it coming back to you? Good? It's not as bad as we thought it would be. See, it doesn't take much. I know it feels like, oh gosh, how am I going to do this again? But as soon as we start to look at a few examples, it starts coming back, hopefully pretty quickly. So let's say instead we have subtract, and I have brackets this time. Oh, you know what? Let's make this kind of fun. Let's make it exactly the same, except I've changed the sign. So this has a little more thinking involved, but I feel confident that you know how to do this. I'm going to give you a minute. Try that on your own, and then I will run through the solution with you. So this time there's a minus sign in between, and last time we had a plus sign in between. So we want to think of the impact that minus sign has. Do the brackets matter this time? Yes. So what do I need to do if I want to get rid of the bracket? So this time I'm going to rewrite this, plus 2y minus 7. If I want to get rid of the second bracket, what needs to happen? Somebody new that hasn't answered yet? Okay, Irina?
You multiply the numbers in the polynomials in brackets with the minus sign.
Good. We distribute this negative sign here, here, and here. So remember that word, distribute, which means to hand out or to, yeah, so to each of them. So this is like saying negative 1. So if I do negative 1 times 5x squared, what's going to happen? Yeah. Thank you. Negative 5x squared. Good? And if I had a negative 7y here, what is it going to become when I distribute the negative to it? It's going to become addition. So it's now plus 7y. And same thing when we get to the very end. Instead of minus 3, if I multiply minus 3 by this negative here, what do I get? It's actually plus 3. So actually what happens is the sign of all of these terms inside the brackets changes. Make sure that you do take account of the negative sign and distribute it. And then the rest of this would be similar to what we've done before. So how many x squares do we have? Negative 2x squared. Because we did 3 minus 5. So that's gone. Then we have the plus 2y plus 7y. And how many y's is that? So we're plus 9y. So that's gone. And then we also have minus 7 and plus 3. What is negative 7 plus 3? Negative 4. So after all that, this is our simplified solution. Any questions about that before we move on? So far so good? And it's all coming back to you even though it's been a little while? Good? Let's try. I'm not even going to write what we're going to do with it. I'm just going to write the question and you are going to get rid of the brackets for me. Remove the brackets. So kind of similar to what we were doing. If we want to remove the brackets, what needs to happen? Irina, I'm going to cut you off because you've answered a lot, but thank you. Anybody else? What do we need to do in order to get rid of the brackets? Yeah. Distribute. Yeah, so it's just like what we did in the last one where we distributed this negative here, but we need to distribute the 2x. So what happens when we multiply those two together? What's 2x times x? Yeah. 2x squared. Good. Is everybody okay with that? So using our exponent laws, if we have an x and we multiply it by another x, we actually add the little exponent that would be at the top. And although it's not written there, there's actually a 1 there. Good? So then we go back and distribute it to the second term like this, which is what? What's 2x times 4? 8x plus 8x. So we would get this as our simplified solution. So far so good? Okay. Let's do one that says simplify. And I'm going to go a little bit crazy with this, but I feel like you're ready. So if we have negative 2x squared y plus 4xy squared minus 7y, all divided by that. I'm going to give you a minute. If you are asked to simplify, what do we get when we simplify something like this? if we want to simplify this, what would be our first step? The whole thing is over negative y right now. Sorry? Yeah, it's kind of like distributing. We're going to separate these, right? So these three terms, this, and this, we can rewrite it to say negative 2x squared y over negative y plus 4xy squared over negative y minus 7y over negative y. So we are allowed to do this as long as we rewrite that negative y under each term. So that's the rule. It's sort of like the opposite of what we did in the last question, right? So then this may look really long and complicated and overwhelming, but I showed you a little trick. Actually, I can't remember if it was this block or the other one, where if it looks like it's confusing, just ignore half of it. We're going to pretend that the rest of it doesn't even exist, and we're just going to focus on this part. Imagine if this was the only question I gave to you right now. Do you all know how to do just this part? So if we break it up into little steps and then put it all together, then none of them feel like they're difficult. So if I were to get rid of this, first of all, what happens if I have a negative at the top and the bottom? Yeah. The sign becomes positive. So we can just get rid of the negative sign. So they're gone, right? Actually, I don't really actually want to do that, but maybe I'll write it down below. And then, so we still have a 2, we still have an x squared, but what happens if there's a y at the top and the bottom? Yeah. It cancels out. So that y is gone, that y is gone. So basically out of this entire first term, I only have a 2x squared left. Is everybody okay with that so far? So now we're bringing back the second part that we had ignored just for a minute there, and we want to take the same approach. If I have a positive at the top and a negative at the bottom, what is the term going to be here? Positive or negative? It's going to be a negative, so I can start with that. There's an x at the top, none at the bottom, so I need to write it here because it can't cancel with anything. And if I have a y squared at the top and a y at the bottom, what does that leave me with? Just a y, negative xy. So it's like the squared is gone and that y is gone. Does everybody understand what happened there and how we're simplifying? And then, so far, do you see what I mean by that step-by-step method? Irina? Thank you. Yes, I would. I just forgot about it. Thank you for catching that. Good? So minus 4xy is what we would get. And then we bring back that third part that we were temporarily just ignoring. So if we look at this, going back to what we did with the first one, if there's a negative at the top and the bottom, what do we get? It's actually a plus. Oh, that's way too thick. Let's fix that. It's actually a plus, so that's going to be gone. The 7 is still there. And what happens with the y's? There's a y at the top and the bottom. It's canceled. So after all that work, we just have this. So far, so good? Well, I wasn't planning on this, but you're all making me feel like we can handle this. So let's go for it. I will start by saying this. This is a little bit crazy. So if you find it to be really tough, don't worry about it at all. This is what I would give as like a bonus or a challenge question, but I kind of get the sense that maybe we're all okay with that. And if we're not, then just pretend that from this point on, that this is not happening. Good? Okay. So, oh boy, this book is just crazy. There are some that are just insane, but whatever. We're going to try one that's not too insane, and then we'll see how it goes. 2x, let's say, plus 2 minus 4x squared plus 2x minus 6 all over 2. Okay, so you kind of see what I mean, that this looks a little bit crazy. Like if somebody just walked in right now, they were late to class and just saw this, they would probably leave. But we can do this because, I know you're still copying this down, but I'm just going to do this for a second to show you. If we just pretend the second half isn't even there and we just do this part, I have faith that you all know how to do that. So my suggestion is you do it step by step like that. Just work on this part. Once you feel confident that you have the answer, then bring back the second part and just do that part without the other one there, and then put them together, and I think you're going to find it's not too bad. But when you look at the whole thing, it looks bad. So I'm going to give you a minute to try this on your own because it's so much more rewarding if you get it on your own, and then we'll go through it together. You can do this on the first day back, Monday morning. You can do anything. Are we okay to move along? Okay, we're gonna color code this. This is gonna be the pink part, and this we're going to do in blue. So I'm teaching you to live in denial. You ready for this? We are going to live in denial and pretend that's just not happening. And we're just gonna deal with this part. If we're just dealing with this part, what do I need to do with this 5x? I want to get rid of the brackets. So what do I need to do to the 5x? What's that word? Anybody call it out? Distribute. Good. Thank you. So we want to distribute this here. What's 5x times 2x? You can just call it out. 10x squared. Good. We go back to that 5x and now we distribute it to the second one. What does that give us? Plus 10x. Everybody good with that so far? So pretend that that's all that you have in your question. We're good with that part. Now we bring back the part that we were living in denial with, and that's this blue stuff. So you can just pretend that that other part isn't even there if you want. And we actually could even just pretend the negative's not there and deal with that after. But basically, if I want to deal with this part, what would I need to do? Distribute. Well, we don't actually call it distribute, but kind of. It's kind of like the opposite of distribute, right? So, well, maybe it kind of is distributing. This is making me think on the spot. Yeah, kind of. We are going to distribute that to, okay, we're going to do it. We're going to call it distribute. Minus 6 over 2. Is everybody good with that so far? Okay, so then there is a minus sign there. We're just ignoring it for a second. What do I get here? What is 4x over 2? Negative 2x. Okay, what is 2x over 2? The 2's cancel, so what do we get? It's just plus x. I'm going to do this because we do have that negative off to the side. And then what is 6 over 2? It's just the number 3. So now to put this all together, oops, I guess I've kind of left that off. 10x squared plus 10x. And then I have this part. So if I want to deal with this and get rid of the brackets, we want to distribute the negative. There, there, and there. So we have 10x squared plus 10. Everybody good so far? And then we have minus 2x, minus x, and plus 3. So do you see that it's basically like all the other questions we did today, but it's all jumbled up into one question? But if we break it down into little parts, then it doesn't feel quite as overwhelming, because it is kind of crazy. Just look at it. It takes up the whole line or the whole page. But if we break it down into little chunks, hopefully it's not so bad. And then what's the only other thing we need to do with this? I forgot. Wow, you guys, do you see my mistake? Where did I make a mistake? Yes. The squared on the 2x? No, you're right. I made a couple of mistakes. You guys, I'm awful. Can you help me find my mistakes? I see them, but I want you to see them too. It's a bad way to start things off. I missed the X on the 10, so I'm going to throw that in a different color. Thank you. That should have an X on it, and so should that. Everybody see that? Thank you. Maybe this is your job for today. Find my mistakes, because clearly I'm not feeling the sharpest after the break. Where's the other mistake? There's another one. There's one more mistake. Can anybody find it? Negative 4x squared. I'm missing a squared there. So this should be a squared. Does that make sense to everyone? This should be squared. Am I good now? Anything else? We're good? Okay. And now what's the last thing we have to do in order to finish this? 10x squared. Are there any other x squares? Negative 2x squared. So what's 10x squared minus 2x squared? 8x squared. So that's gone and that's gone. 10x minus x. What's that? Plus 9x. Right? Good. So that's gone. And that's gone. And is there anything else? Just this plus 3? Oops. So then we would just have a plus 3 at the end. Good? So I was unsure, undecided. Do you feel like you can handle these? Okay, remember what I said? These are like the over-the-top, next-level type of questions. So I'm going to give you some choices here. So here are our choices. I want you to work on page, or maybe it's better if I call it section 5.5 in your book. And I want you to do numbers 1 to 9, odd letters. Do you know what I mean by that? I've explained it once before, but I'll say it again. That means like A, C, E, etc., etc. Like you do the first one, then you skip and do every other one. But I want you to skip numbers 1, so I shouldn't say 1, I should say 2. Skip numbers 3 and 5. Or another way we could say that is omit numbers 3 and 5. You know what that means? Omit means don't do it. Good? Now let me explain here. So I am assigning this, but number 9, can you flip and look at number 9 for a second? I feel like maybe this will make you feel better that your teacher's telling you these are crazy. Number 9 is optional. If you are up for a challenge, you want the bonus extra questions, then go for it and do number 9. If you are struggling and you feel like I'm not getting this very well, I'm feeling a bit iffy about it, I don't think number 9 is going to be helpful. Does that make sense? So it's like bonus. You decide. If you feel like, yeah, I got this, I'm understanding this, I'm good to go, then go ahead and do number 9. Good? It will not affect you, harm you in any way if you don't do it. It's just if you want a challenge or a bonus and you're up for it, then go for it.